Thank you, sir.
All right, so let's begin. Acing UTME, acing JAMB once excellently and for all. And for today, I'm going to be a facilitator, James Williams, Sharon Kamnaya Gabriel. I want you to understand something. When I introduce myself, you're likely to know more about what I do and who I am. And you understand that this very session that was brought to you free by Afrilearn is actually what students are paying thousands of naira to actually access, right? I am a well-known speaker within the educational space and also a 300 plus, a UTME 300 plus UTME coach. So I coach students to be able to actually hit as high as that. Outside that, I'm still mean the other thing. So you have to meet, let's meet James Williams. Who is James Williams? All right, James Williams is an academic excellence coach and advocate. He's the impactful innovators, young and impactful African Innovators Award recipient, 2023. One of the overall best graduate students, set of 2023 from Nile University of Nigeria. He's the best graduate student faculty and department. So the Faculty of Art and Social Sciences, I was the best graduating student. The faculty and the Department of Economics, I was also the best graduating students from the faculty and department, respectively. I'm also a two times full tuition scholarship award recipient from Nile University of Nigeria. So all through my undergraduate level, I did it on the full tuition scholarship. For context, at the time that I was going for undergraduate studies, that was 2019. Now, the university was pretty much reported to be the most expensive university in the country, 1.2 million per semester. But I didn't pay but a dime from that because of my UTME performance and also my WASC performance, what people call JAMB and WAEC. So because of my performances in these two areas, I was able to have a full tuition scholarship, full tuition undergraduate scholarship. And upon graduation, for being one of the overall best graduating students, but being one of the best graduating students, I I got a full tuition scholarship, tuition scholarship from my postgraduate level. Secondary school, I was also excellent. I was the best graduating science student, the part of high school, Calabar campus. Yeah, and in it, actually had a perfect GPA, right? Had all A's throughout both my junior and my senior secondary school. But most importantly, you're going to be asking, okay, what is this image by your right, right? That was my story being featured on national news and national news media. Or be distracted a bit by people who want entry. So this was my story being featured by the national news media, right? And on legit.ng. I don't know if people know legit.ng. That was one of the news media platforms that carried my story upon my graduation. And the one of the stories that they highlighted was when I said I cried when I scored 305 in UTME. So the question is, why did I cry? You're having 300 plus. Why are you crying? And there's some of you are already asking that question. Jeez, why are you crying? You had 300 plus. I'm going to be revealing that to you. So why I cried? Now, as like I said, I went to Deeper Life High School. Deeper Life High School. And if you know anything about Deeper Life High School in recent times for their UTME performances, it's that it's always excellent. Please endeavor to mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Please just mute yourself if you can. Yeah. So the Butterfly School is known for putting out very great performances in UTME. For example, you can see by right here, this was in 2023, they had the top scorer in UTME, 360. And then this is 2024, we had people scoring as high as 362, 365, 350, and so on and so forth. So we put out good performances. And something happened during my set, right? The set before mine, not the set before mine, before we were to sit for our UTME, before we were to sit for our JAMB, as it please note that I'll be referring to it as UTME. but it's and colloquially in the Nigerian setting they refer to it as JAMB, but it's actually that JAMB is the body that organizes the examination called UTME. So I want you to pretty much understand the distinction. So that even you, when you're praying, you're saying, God, help me pass my JAMB. You're actually like, God, help me pass my JAMB body, the body that is organizing the UTME. The examination you're sitting for is called UTME. So, yes. So I might be using JAMB and UTME interdependently, intermittently, but I have to kind of understand this very distinction is very, very important. So when I say UTME, you know what I mean. Are we clear on that? On what I mean when I say UTME? Let me know. Are we clear? Are we clear on the distinction? Mister, are you there? All right, all right. Vivian just sent a chat. She said yes. All right. So UTME. Before we wrote the main UTME, right? There is something that JAM organizes, and this is UTME mock. Take note of this. Very important. JAM organizes the UTME mock, and this UTME mock is actually almost like a simulation. And when I mean simulation, uh, mute yourself. And so JAM organizes the Esther, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. The background noise is actually yeah. Please mute yourself. The background noise is disturbing the session. All right. So JAM organizes the UTME mock. And the UTME mock itself is pretty much a simulation of JAM. And when we say something is a simulation, we mean that it's a mirror. We mean that it's an imitation of how JAM is going to be. Right? You people sit for mocks, so you kind of understand what it means. And so when we had that mock, the results came out. And when the results came out, I had the highest score. I had the highest score in the school. I had the 320. I had 321. And so with 321, I just felt that, okay, fine. And number one, we had so many rivals in school. I had two particular big time rivals in school, right? People that you want to pass. And once you pass them, like you just feel like you're on top of it all, right? So I had 321, the best in the school, the highest in the school. I was really very happy and really very proud of it. Um, however, that wasn't just where I had to stop, right? Because my goal was even for something bigger than that. But at that very point in time, I can remember when they called us out for that 321 and they told me I was highest in the school. I was just like, okay, fine. I'm going to be humble about it. So our principal then asked me, James, are you comfortable with 321? And then my answer was that, well, I think it's a good one. Because of that, guess what my lecturer, the principal did? The principal told me to kneel down. He told me to kneel down. How can you say that 321 is enough? So when you see this, my story, you can see the text before it. The text ahead. What is being said? Here's what is being said. But he asked, and this is the narration with to the journalist in question about my story. Like, but he asked James, "What do you think about your score?" To which I replied, "I think it's a good one." Just before I could begin my next statement, he ordered that I went to my knees for thinking that 321 was enough. So there was this very expectation from us to be the national best. But not just expectation from us, there was that very expectations from ourselves that we had to be the national best. And so when my UTME result, the main UTME result came out and I had 305, I was like, no. I was aiming for something higher. So what are the lessons? What were the lessons? What are the lessons from my UTME story? Number one, you will soon learn that no one scores above 300 and gets surprised. Each one of us that we went to develop high school is a school that is well known for that. And even for your school, it doesn't matter. Whatever school, those people that are going to hit about 300, we are aiming, for most part, we are aiming for something higher. And hitting 300 is not a surprise for them. And why is it not a surprise? Because even when we are talking, when my own personal aim was to hit a 300, it was more than just talk. It was more than just me talking. I actually put in the work. Everyone that were my rivals, that were kind of close rivals, they were actually putting in the work to ensure that they had that. So hitting 300 won't be like a surprise because they were working for it. And so now when I didn't hit 300, I was even crying because I was expecting something higher than that. 300 wasn't just the goal. And so there's something I want you guys, a lesson you should pick up from here is that you should be aiming from the get-go for something really beautiful, for something really excellent. Yes, you might not hit it, but even your standard of failure is going to be people's standard of success. There's some people that are going to dash 300, 305 in. There's some people that will dash 305 in and they will be laughing and they'll be celebrating, they'll call a party. But for me, it was my standard of failure, right? And so you should get yourself to a position where even what people consider a standard of success is actually a standard of failure because you are aiming high enough based on your, and it's not just aiming, but you're working towards it. You truly believe that you can get it if you put all things together. That mindset is very, very important in this academic game, in this UTME game. As you can see, even from deeper, it's a deeper life high school thing, right? It's more or less me sharing my own secret and the deeper life secret. Like, why did they perform really well and greatly in examinations? It's because of things like this, the mindset. Aim for high grades. Aim for an excellent UTME story. Do you get that? Before we move to the lesson, let me get your feedback. Did you get that? Did you get that, Isa? I need a response. I need a response. I don't know whether I'm still audible. All right, all right. I can see it from the chat. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Number two, beware of lucky successes. Beware of lucky successes. You see, when some of you have already started, right? Some of you have already begun preparation, and maybe some of you are just stuck to past questions, right? Some of you are really stuck to past questions. You're doing past questions, or possibly you're doing past questions or CBT asks, whatever it is. Now, when you're revising and when you possibly you've done everything, you've clicked submit, you're seeing your results. Most of you just focus on those ones that you failed, those questions that you failed. Those are the only ones that actually engages your interest. But what of those ones that you just guessed and got them rightly? Do you really know them? So that's the essence of the second lesson. I figured out that that was one of the mistakes that I was making during my time. I was always focusing on the failure and I didn't note those lucky successes, those ones that I just answered by luck. It doesn't really mean that I really knew them. So you shouldn't just revisit the questions you failed, also revisit the questions that you answered correctly just by luck. Does that make sense? So at this very point is your knowledge of the topic that you should be gazing, not just whatever you scored. Oh, you're happy that you scored and you had 100 by 100, but then you guessed for over 20 of them. Nope. You had those ones you guessed. Just tell yourself the truth. Tell the truth. So that UTME will not be the bitter truth. Tell yourself the bitter truth before UTME opportunity to tell you that. So for your lucky successes, ensure that you go through them. And and I want you to also treat these things much more deeply than so many other students do, than average students will, than the average UTME aspirant will. And what do I mean by that? When you, the first question you should be asking yourself is it's not just okay, what is the right answer? No. The first question you should be asking yourself, do I have a problem with the topic from which this question was kind of derived? So look at your failures deeper, not just on the superficial level of just getting the right answers. Ask yourself, do you have the right knowledge of the topic? And sometimes the answer is no. And so you have to go back to that topic and ensure that you understand it. So that whatever other questions you're going to visit from that very topic, you're going to master it. Same goes for your lucky successes and your guesswork. Oh, you guessed this question to get it correctly. All right. Do you really understand the topic from which that question was brought up? Right? Was derived. And ensure that you try to understand that topic in and of itself. So any other question that comes out from there, you are going to be able to deal with it comfortably, even if it comes out in UTME. Number 3 lesson that I learned. So number 2, remember, beware of lucky success. So number 3 lesson, look beyond rivalry and look out for your weaknesses. So when I had 321, I was just like, okay, fine. My rivals, I was the best in the school, right? I was already like, okay, what? All I just need is just to kind of sail safely, don't do any other thing really radical. You understand? It was pretty much almost like very easy for me to just rest on my oars almost immediately. However, there was something else I should have been doing. I should have been looking out for my own weakness. I should have been looking out for my own weakness. Okay, what is it? What are my areas of lucky successes? What are those questions that's actually troubled me during that UTME mock or during my own personal studies? What are the questions that I need to fix? Okay, how do I work on my time? Well, I think time wasn't so much of a problem because of the technique that I used, but and I'm going to reveal it here. If I don't reveal it, remind me. So it was more or less like, okay, fine. What are the questions that I should look out for? What are the questions that actually gave me trouble, that rocked me? And what about, I had 321. Okay, what about the 79 points that I lost? How can I get them back? How can I maximize them? That's what I should have been looking out for. Not because I was the best, but looking out for that 79 point that was taken away from me. So if the questions are very centered on that 79 point, that means I will be in trouble. So don't just look at your rivals and compete with the people you're competing with. Look out also for your weaknesses. So now I've covered this UTME story based on the lessons from my UTME stories. The next stuff you should be asking yourself, okay, how do you prepare? What should be your preparation strategy? And I want you to prepare for you being here. I want you to prepare in a much more elite and sophisticated form, more than the average UTME preparer is going to be preparing. Like you should be preparing like someone that needs to ace this examination. So how should you do this? And what should you take note of? What should you notice? What should you have at the back of your mind while you're preparing? What are the mistakes you should avoid? That's what I'm going to be sharing next. So what should you be looking at while you are choosing a preparation strategy? Number 1, you should have the distinction between WASC and UTME in mind. Or when you talk about WASC, once again, WASC is actually the examination that WAEC sets or WAEC organizes. Right, WASC is actually West African Secondary School Certificate Examination. So what is the difference between, let's just say, what's the difference between WAEC and JAMB preparation? One thing you should note is that one way that UTME differs from WAEC, as you call it, is that UTME actually is objective in nature, right? It's subjective, multiple choice question, MCQ, right? It's objective in nature, and that makes it a lot trickier. It makes it a lot trickier because you're going to see answers that actually are similar to the others. And for you to be able to stand out, you need to for you to be able to point out the very right answer among the options of almost similar answers. You need to have a deep knowledge, a deep understanding of that very topic. So UTME objective nature demands a deeper knowledge of that very topic so that you can actually eliminate the questions that are the answers that are wrong. So the objective nature makes it trickier. Take note of that. And number 2, UTME takes a CBT form, while WASC, while WAEC is largely written. So that is another distinction. So that means that your preparation has to be different. So I'm someone that's, like I said, I was the best graduating student, overall best graduating student. I'm also an academic excellence coach. For university level, which is my primary niche, I've had students that moved from second class lower to being 5.0 GPA students, won 4 times in a row, and Benedicta from last one. So many other stories that are fantastic stories like that. And one of the things that I share with them in my masterclasses and my courses is pretty much the best way to organize your revision sessions. How did I, as a 5.0 GPA student, how did I organize my revision sessions? What is that is very important? And the answer is this. All your revision sessions, all your preparation sessions, the best way to get the most out of it is for you to have it simulate the examination condition. Let all your revision session be as though you're writing the exams. So that way you write the exams many times before you even get to the examination hall. And so when you get to the examination hall, you're much more confident. You kind of already know what to expect. You're comfortable with the environment, and so on and so forth. So that applies there. UTME CBT is a computer-based test, while WAEC is largely written. So now, what does this mean for your preparation choice? What does it mean for your preparation choice? Number one, it is trickier, like I've said, because of the objective nature. So in your training, in your preparation, you have to prioritize understanding. You have to make understanding the main thing. So while you're reading, try to understand, not just memorization. Not just memorization. You can do that for WAEC. You can do that for WASC. You can do that for that. But you see, for UTME, you need understanding. And that's what some students can. Someone can tell you, oh, I had A's and B's in my WAEC, and at the end of the day, I saw my JAMB. I'm having 112, bro. Right? Or maybe I'm having this, I'm having that. It happens. Because why you can memorize, why you can do some memorization stuff for WAEC or WASC, you can't do that for UTME. UTME tests your understanding. And so it's very important that you prioritize understanding as you are preparing. And it takes CBT form, and the CBT form implies that when you're preparing for your rehearsals, right, for your rehearsals for the UTME performances, you definitely have to use CBT apps. You necessarily have to get comfortable with using CBT functionality of timing. Any CBT app that give you that's very advantage of, okay, fine, I'm going to start this examination. It's going to be timing me, right? The way it's going to be on that very UTME day, you need to start getting comfortable with that very format right now. So some of you are preparing and possibly are just only using past questions. I know some of you are doing that, right? You're going to only using past questions, hard copy past questions. So how are you going to adjust that very day when you're going to be sitting before the computer? You don't even know how to navigate it. It's very surprising because that's not the form you have been using. You have not been preparing for that very format of examination. So if you're wondering how is it that from Deeper Life High School we are able to be having this kind of result, it's because we're using CBT apps right from time. That is our preparation strategy. So that very well, when we are not strangers to the computer. So once we go there, we already know what it's like. We even sat for the UTME mock. So we kind of know what to expect. And nothing was really strange to us. It's a very, should I say, it's a very comfortable environment, a very conversant environment, a very familiar environment. The computers, the equations, and so you have to be in that place where you have been prepared for the environment they're going to be sitting for the UTME here. Is someone getting something from this? All right, that's great. So let's move to the next one. So we've talked about prioritizing understanding. Next question is, okay, fine. What are the study strategies that will help you prioritize understanding, that will help you to understand whatever you are going to read? Number one, as you're reading, you need a necessary sense of self-awareness. While you're reading, while you're preparing, have self-awareness. So as you're reading, you might be reading something, and at some points, you're just disconnected. Pause and ask yourself, why am I disconnected? It could be that you don't understand the particular word used. Go and look for the meaning of that word until you understand the meaning of that word so that everything will flow. It could be that you don't understand the particular topic. Go and look for that topic and fix it. back to haunt you. And that's what we mean by seek foundational gaps. Let's say, for example, you're trying to learn multiplication, right? You're trying to learn multiplication, and then you don't know how to add. You don't know how to add. By the time you're trying to solve one multiplication problem or the other, you're going to find yourself in trouble. You're going to find yourself in trouble. And so what you should be doing for you to be able to understand is to ask yourself, okay, why am I in trouble here? What is it that I need to understand to be able to understand this very larger problem of multiplication? And that's where you can find out, oh, I have the problem with addition. You then go back and fix addition. The good thing is that once you fix addition, it will be easier for you to flow with the concept of multiplication. And any question that will come out from addition, you're going to be able to answer it. So in this way, you solve two problems at once. You've killed two birds with one stone, as they always say. So it applies to whatever course you're studying, whatever subject you're preparing for. Let's say in physics, you have a problem with calculating wavelengths or amplitude or whatever it is, or frequency. You have a problem with that. Okay, you can ask yourself, where is my issue coming from? Do I understand the concept of waves? Do I even understand the definition of waves? Or do I even understand how to divide or add? Do I understand basic mathematical interpretation of problems? Now, if that is the issue, your basic interpretation of mathematical problems, you can go back to that and try to fix it. And sometimes you might not be able to fix it yourself, and possibly go to the textbook, and textbook will further confuse you. That's where you look for second teachers. And when we talk about second teachers, we mean things that possibly you are at home right now for you to be able to access this, or you have access to a phone. You can look out for definitions, simpler explanations and definitions from YouTube. You can look out for kind of channels that actually focus on teaching you how to ace that are kind of giving you tutorials on subject by subject basis. There are so many of them. There's so many of them out there on YouTube. Some of them you can see them on TikTok. You're going to see tutorials. I know some of those. There is a very active UTME community out there ready to give you tutorials on subject by subject basis. You can look out for them. You can look out for a particular topic. You can just type in your particular topic and find out if there are, and look out for the simpler explanations that you can get. You can go to a friend. Your friend can be a second teacher, a brilliant friend that actually understands that very topic. You can tell that friend to explain it to you. And once they do that to you, you can see that you're going to understand that very concept better. So have a sense of self-awareness, seek out foundational gap. That self-awareness, seek out foundational gap, fill those gaps. And you can fill those gaps with asking second teachers and so on, right? Second teachers, YouTube, tutorial classes, brilliant friends, possibly your teachers, and so on. Fill in those gaps. It's very, very important. And then the third and the lastly, you can use, and yes, there's a bit of memorization in this stuff. There's a bit of memorization to the academic, to the UTME game, right? There's some facts that, and when we mean that facts, we mean things that are objectively defined. There are kind of questions. For example, let me say Esther, for example. If Esther, for example, I'm asking Esther, if Esther tells me that her name is Esther, right? Esther tells me her name is Esther. And I come to them and then Esther tells me, oh, James Williams, I told you that day what my name was. Can you remember it? And I think, and I said, your name is Ezra. Is this your name, Ezra? Esther would just be like, no. My name is Esther, not Ezra. You say, my name is Esther. And why does Esther have the right to say, James, my name is Esther? It's because that very answer is objectively defined. It can be no other way. Her name is Esther. It's the same way you're talking about possibly what year did Nigeria gain independence? If I say 1961, I failed because it necessarily has to be 1960. Right? When Nigeria gained her political independence, it has to be 1960. That is the name. That is the year. It can be no other way. Right? at least with the Gregorian calendar. Let's not go deep, but it has to be 1960. And so for you to kind of understand that for UTME, there are questions like that that can be no other way that you necessarily have to have memorized the dates, the time, and this very, for example, and you're going to find this really important when you're for use of English. It's my understanding that right now they've changed your novel to Lake Headmaster. So there might be names that you have to remember, right? There might be conversations that you have to remember. There might be dates that you have to remember. For those of you studying government, the same for you, or sitting for government in UTME, there are dates that you have to remember, right? There are dates, there are names that you have to remember. There are occasions that you have to remember. And so that's where active recall is very important. Now, what is active recall? Active recall is trying to recall from your memory without the help of any extraneous material. Ask yourself, where am I? Okay, can I remember the date of Nigeria's independence? Or can I remember when OAU was formed? For those of you that are going to be sitting for government, can I remember when OAU was formed? Oh, can I remember, for those of you that are science students, oh, can I remember the formula for wavelength? Or can I remember the formula for frequency? Right? So it's more or less like, oh, can I remember the formula for the conversion of Celsius to Fahrenheit and so on and so forth to Kelvin? Can I remember? Can I recall it from memory? That is the question. Can I remember the formula for angular velocity and so on and so forth? Try to recall it from memory, because when you're going to be sitting for UTME, you're left with nothing but your memory. And so if you find out that you can't recall it from your memory, you go out and feel them. You feel them and keep asking yourself, maybe one day, the next 2 days, you're trying to remember that exact information until it has stuck. That is very important. That's a very, very important technique in that game of having 300 plus. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? Now, seek foundational gaps. Have the self-awareness to seek foundational gaps. Feel them. If you can't feel them yourself, seek out for second teachers. Seek out for second teachers, and then ensure to use active recall for memorization of those facts that can be no other way. All right. So now we've touched on the study techniques for understanding. There's so much more you can check out. You can check out out there. So now we've talked about study techniques. The next thing we should be asking yourself, okay, now I talked about like time wasn't a problem for me. Number one, I was already practicing a lot for timing, but there was another technique that helped me. Some of you, and if I share this technique is going to make you to be lightning fast, to be very fast, very quick in answering questions without compromising accuracy. So are you ready to get that? All right, let's move to that quickly. So time management technique. This is my secret time management technique. This is the way I answer questions, objective questions, and it's not just for UTME. It's for every objective question you're going to be sitting for in your life. I'm telling you, Afrilearn, you should give kudos to Afrilearn for actually letting me to review this thing to you for free. People pay thousands to get them, thousands. But this is setting you up for. This is going to be setting you up for life. So don't joke with this that I'm about to reveal to you. So when you get to an objective question, when you get to your UTME questions, and this you should practicing this from now on, especially as you're using your UTME app. As you're using your UTME app, your UTME CBT app for your preparations, and also on that very day of UTME, possibly your UTME mock 2 and the day of UTME. As you get your questions, you're going to stay on the subject. Try to stay on the subject. Select the subject that you want to start with first. What you have to do first is immediately you hit start looking for the questions that are short and simple. So let's put it this way. Let me start this way for you to understand better. There are 4 categories of questions. Objective questions, I mean, in this very context. There are 4 categories of questions. Number 1, short and simple questions. So these are questions that are very short and they are very simple. You know the answer. Very short, very simple. You can just answer them immediately. Now they are long and simple. Yes, these questions are simple, but you have to possibly, for example, if you're taking mathematics, you have to solve a lot before you can get them, before you can get that answer. So we have the short and simple. These ones are straightforward. Long and simple, you have to solve. It might take some time, but it's very simple. You know it. You're going to get the answer. The third category is the short and complex. These short and complex questions, yes, they might be short, but possibly you don't really know them. Possibly it's going to take time before you can recall how to solve them or what the answers are. Yes, they're short, but you don't know the answers. And then lastly, there is the long and complex. And long and complex questions those ones are long, and you don't know the answer. Or possibly they are long and you have to actually rack your brain a lot before you can get an answer to that. So these are four categories of questions that you have to take note of. So once you start your UTME, on that very day, you can start practicing it from now, as I said. What you have to do, first of all, is to look out for the short and simple questions. So one thing you're going to get when you're using a CBT app is that there's always a next button. There is always a next button. So you can start from number one. If number one is short and simple, try to answer it. Then you go to number two. Number two is short and complex. This is going to take your time. Move to number three. If it's short and simple, answer it. You move to number four. Short and simple, answer it. If you move to number five, possibly number six, number seven, number eight, number nine, you move and look out for the short and simple questions. Answer them. And once you're done with answer them, there's always a next button and there's a previous button. As you're returning with the previous button, take note of what I'm sharing with you right now. You can then start looking out for the long and simple questions. Yes, they are long, but they are simple. Start answering them. Maybe number 60 is long and simple. Start answering it. Number 58 is long and simple. Start answering it. And go on and on and on and on. You can also, how about, what if I forget the question? Now you can possibly take note of the questions that you're not answering. They will always give a sheet of paper and possibly a pencil on that very UTME day. You can just take note of those ones that you've not yet answered. But why this is very important to you is so that you can devote your best time and best energy to the questions that you can get their points out of. You don't want a situation where you're focusing on just the long and complex for how many minutes, and before you can get to the last questions, possibly the last 10 questions, you find that those ones are short and simple, but you don't have time to answer them, and then you've lost those points. UTME is a game of points. It's a game of points. No one cares possibly whether you answer this sequentially. You just care that you were able to give the right answers to the questions. And so gather as much points as you can within the time that you can. And then once you're done looking for the long and simple as you're returning back, you can then start looking out for the short and complex and start trying to answer them. You give them the time, give them the energy that they need, and put in your answers, you're able to get them. And then when you're done with that, you can then settle with the long and complex. So in that very sequence, short and simple, long and simple, short and complex, long and complex. And then possibly at the end of the day, you find out that, there are some questions that you've not answered. This is where you have to look out for them through the last stage, review for blanks. So now you're done, possibly you're done with everything. Now this is the time to actually look out for the questions that you might have missed in your rush, the questions you might have skipped. You start from number one patiently, because by the time you're done with this might even take you maybe just possibly 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. And then you can then start looking out for the blanks. Looking out for the blanks. What are the blank questions? What are the questions that I've not yet answered? You take your time, number one, number two, number three, in that very sequence. This will help you save not just time, but to save the points that matters. Now, there could be a situation where you have something like conjoint questions. For example, they say use table this. Benjamin Obiora. Okay, let me just. So there could be a situation, all right. So there could be a situation where you have a table and so use this table to answer questions, let's just say 33 to questions 40, right? In that very scenario, what you should do is that you can then decide to focus on it. You can decide to, before I can move on to the short and simple, short and complex, let me just use this table. If the questions are answerable within that very period, you can answer them as quickly as possible before you move on. So you can devote your time to and using that table to answer question 33 to 38. As the case may be, you can focus on that, give your answers to that, and then move on, move forward, and then you can start looking out for other categories of questions, the short and complex, the long and complex, and so on and so forth. So short and simple, long and simple, short and complex, long and complex, in that very order. That is the way that you can save time. All right, we are getting to the end. We are getting to the end of this very webinar. So we are getting to the end of this webinar. So I think it won't be complete. This webinar will not be complete if I don't tell you how to best way to answer questions, right? Even the ones you don't know. Okay, yes, there are certain questions at the end of the day you don't even have an idea of what the answer would be. So how do you go about that? It's my own very advice. You never leave any question blank. Never leave any question blank. Answer even if you have to guess. But do not just guess for guessing sake. You have to guess excellently. You have to guess intelligently. Does that make sense to you? It's not when you're asking questions like which of these is let's just say, okay, which of these is a means of transportation? Which of this is not a means of transportation? You will see air, you see road, you see water, and then possibly number D, you see mango. And then you just like, oh, don't worry, I'm to guess. You then go and guess water. Nope. You have to guess intelligently. Oh, air. Okay, possibly there is something air. Air is a means of transportation. Possibly water is a means of transportation. But mango is the only strange thing among everything. So that's where you can be able to even approach questions that you don't even have a clue of what the answer is. So that leads us to the next one, answering technique. So answering technique. So the first answering technique that you should take, especially if you're going for 300 plus, is number one, elimination. Elimination. I've talked about it right now. So if you see questions, what you can do is eliminate the answers that are obviously wrong. Eliminate the answers that are obviously wrong. And by doing that, you might end up people figuring out, oh, there's only one answer that makes sense. And most likely that's the answer that is correct. That is very helpful if you don't know what the answer is. Eliminate the answers that are not likely, and then you'll be left with the answer that is most likely correct. You can go with that, right? Number two is preemptive attack. And when we say preemptive attack, it's more or less like you are preempting. When we say preemptive, I'm going to give you an example. Let's just say you see a UTM equation, and the question is 2 plus 2 is equal, like 2 plus 2 equals. Now you already know what the answer is. You know the answer is 4. Preemptive attack is that you first answer. I got this idea when I was preparing for SAT examination. So that was in secondary school. That was in secondary school. So the idea is pretty much like, okay, 2 plus 2 is 4. What you should do is to have 4 at the back of your mind while you're approaching the answers, or you're approaching the options. So what you're looking out for in the option is just 4. Every other thing, you don't mind if you're seeing root 4. It doesn't mind whether you're seeing 4i. It doesn't matter whether you're seeing 4 that is put upside down. What you're looking out for is 4. No matter what the options are, you're just looking out for 4 because you already know what the answer is, and you've already preempted the answer. And so all you have to do at this point is to go to the options and select what you know is the right answer, preemptive attack. This way you won't be confused by options. And it's very easy to be confused by options. This is UTME. They will give you very similar. Who is? They're likely to give you very, very similar options. Very similar options. And so if you have not preempted what the answer is, you're going to be in trouble. So it's very important that you preempt the attack. It's very important that you preemptively attack. Figure out what the question is just by reading the question. Now, figure out what the answer is just by reading the question, and then go straight to the option and select that answer, so that you won't be confused, or you won't be confused by similar options. And then number 3 is skip and return later on. That is also important. Skip and return later on. Very, very important. So what you should do is pretty much, if you don't know an answer, you can skip it. Remember what I talked to you, I told you about in the time management technique. Short and simple, long and simple, short and complex, long and complex. If you don't know the answer, skip, move to the next one. The goal is to gather as much points as possible within the shortest period of time. Elimination, preemptive attack, skip and return later. So with that, I've been able to share my strategies with you all. With that, I was able to share. I've been able to share my strategy with you all, and I want you to put this into practice. Like I said, this is something people pay thousands to actually to access, and the reason is that it works. It works. I can share you with some of my testimonials as well. It's more or less this is an Afrilearn program, but there's so many testimonials about from this, and so all you have to do is to sit back and practice every bit that I've shared with you. One of my students, one of my pioneer students of the UTM, this my UTM guidance course, he's actually studying mechanical engineering right now, UNN. His name is Emeka. Emeka had 328. He had 328 in UTME. So, and it's by applying these things that I've shared here. So it's very important that you do. It's very important that you do that. So with that, we've come to the end. We've pretty much come to the end. Okay, before that, this is the JAMB syllabus link. JAMB syllabus link. You can use here, https jamb.gov, jamb/gov.org/syllabus. You can use that to access the syllabus for this very year that you're going to be sitting for. I don't want you to be misguided by possibly the syllabus you're going to be seeing from third parties and so on. This is the one that is sanctioned by JAMB themselves, right, for your UTME, so you can take advantage of it. With that, I'll tell you, go and dominate. We at Afrilearn cannot really wait to actually hear your UTME story and wish you all the best. Vivian, Idris, Dukai, Benjamin, Obiora. Wishing you all the best. And yeah, see your results, see your 300 plus. And hoping we get that from you. Hoping we get that from you. Yes, I can see the chat already. Thank you so much. I think we are just on time. We are just on time. What's the time? This is actually 8. Yeah, this is 8. It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure, everyone. Just ensure that you put this into practice and wishing you all the best. Thank you for honoring this invitation. Thank you for being here. And maybe should I take one question? Let's see if we can take one question. Let's see whether we can take one question. Is this going to be a regular thing? This is I think this well, it's up to Afrilearn. It's up to Afrilearn to actually decide, but this is pretty much what I would deliver from my own end. That's a good question. All right. Okay, since though there is no question from the chat, I'm seeing from the chat. Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Esther Adoka is saying thank you. It's my pleasure. I just want you to go out there and replicate the story. And Vivian, thank you so much, Gabriel. Yes, it's my pleasure. See you at the top. See you to your favored UTME. Sorry, your favored university, your favored course. I think we're going to. This might not be the last time of meeting, right? So wish you all the best and prepare excellently. Prepare excellently. And put everything you've learned here into practice. Go and dominate. Thank you. Bye.